Your phone buzzes. It's Saturday afternoon. You've been home all day, blanket on, something good playing in the background, not a single obligation in sight. You pick up the phone, and there it is, a text from a friend. Hey, something came up. Can't make it tonight. So sorry. And you feel it, that wave, not disappointment, not frustration, pure, undiluted relief. You put the phone down, pull the blanket tighter, and think, thank God. If that scenario just described you with uncomfortable accuracy, you already know what comes next, the guilt. Because somewhere along the way, you absorbed the message that this reaction is wrong, that wanting to stay home means you're antisocial, boring, afraid of life. That the people who are really living are the ones out there at the party, at the bar, at the rooftop event, with the good lighting and the mediocre cocktails. Here's the thing, that story is wrong. You aren't avoiding people, you aren't hiding from your life. You are protecting something, something quiet and essential that most people don't even know they have. And today we're going to talk about exactly what that is. Let's start with something most people get completely backwards. You've probably heard the word introvert used like a diagnosis, like it means shy or antisocial or damaged in some way. But introversion isn't a personality flaw, it's a neurological orientation. And to understand it, you need to understand one fundamental thing about how human brains manage energy. Psychologists have a concept called optimal arousal theory. The idea is simple. Every human brain has a baseline level of stimulation that it needs to function at its best. Think of it like an internal thermostat. When you're at your optimal temperature, you're alert, engaged, and capable. Too cold, understimulated, and you feel flat. Too hot, overstimulated, and you feel frantic, drained, and completely depleted. Here's where it gets interesting. For extroverts, that thermostat runs naturally low. Their nervous system craves input, noise, movement, social interaction, unpredictability. All of that external stimulation brings them up to their optimal temperature. A loud party doesn't drain an extrovert, it charges them. But for introverts, and especially for what psychologists call highly sensitive people, or HSPs, the thermostat runs high by default. Their nervous system is already processing more sensory detail, more emotional nuance, more background information from every environment they walk into. So when you add a crowded room, competing conversations, bright lights, and the relentless performance of social interaction on top of that, you don't get energized, you get overloaded. Think about that. It's not that you dislike people, it's that your nervous system hits capacity faster and it needs quiet, real quiet, to come back down to baseline. Staying home isn't laziness, it isn't fear. It is your nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do. It is recharging. And for your particular wiring, stillness is the only charger that actually works. You're not boring. You're just wired for peace over performance. Now, let's talk about why home specifically feels so different. Because it isn't just about being alone, it's about something deeper than that. The outside world is by design unpredictable. You don't control who you run into, you don't control the volume of a restaurant or the temperature of an office or how long a conversation is going to drag on. You don't control the social scripts that get activated the second someone asks you, "So, what have you been up to?" And you have to perform a highlight reel of your life in real time. Every single one of those micro variables is a small tax on your nervous system. And for someone whose nervous system is already running hot, those taxes add up fast. Home is the opposite of all of that. At home, you control the lighting, you control the noise level, you control whether you eat now or in an hour, whether you talk to anyone or disappear into complete silence. You control the entire sensory environment. And for highly sensitive people, that level of environmental control isn't a preference. It's closer to a biological need. It's what allows your nervous system to actually regulate itself. Psychologists call this nervous system regulation, the process of returning your body and brain from a state of stress or overload back to a calm, functional baseline. Here's the thing, most people regulate through connection. And they call a friend, they go somewhere, they externalize. There's nothing wrong with that. But if your nervous system processes the world at a higher frequency, that sort of external connection without quiet recovery doesn't regulate you. It depletes you further. You need the controlled environment first. You need home first. And only from that place of regulated calm can you actually show up well for the people and the world you care about. This is why canceling plans doesn't make you a bad friend. It often makes you a more honest one. You're not showing up half present and drained and checking the time every 20 minutes. You're saying, I know what I need and I respect it enough to honor it. That isn't avoidance. That is self awareness. Those are very different things. Now, let's address the thing people always say, but what are you even doing at home all day? The assumption buried in that question is that staying home means doing nothing, that if you aren't out moving through the world, you are stagnant. That rest is the same thing as waste. But here's what actually happens in solitude, real, chosen, peaceful solitude. This is where your best thinking lives. Without the constant input of other people's opinions, agendas, and energy, your brain gets to do something rare and genuinely powerful. It turns inward. Psychologists call this deep introspection, the ability to examine your own thoughts, patterns, and emotional landscape with clarity and honesty. It is the foundation of self awareness. And self awareness is the foundation of almost every meaningful thing a human being can build: good relationships, creative work, sound decisions, a life that actually fits who you are. Solitude is also where creativity ignites. The research on this is consistent. Uninterrupted, low stimulation environments are where the brain makes its most original connections. The shower thoughts that actually change how you see something. The idea that arrives quietly after an hour of doing what everyone else would call nothing. That's not an accident. That is a regulated, unstimulated brain finally having enough space to operate at its full capacity. But here's the crucial nuance, because this matters. There is a very real difference between healthy solitude and isolation driven by depression or social anxiety. Healthy solitude feels like a warm refuge. It is chosen. It feels replenishing. You could engage with the world. You're simply choosing not to right now, and that choice feels good. Depression and social anxiety feel like a cage. The world feels impossible, not just tiring. There's a flatness, a dread, a not wanting to rather than a not needing to. If your solitude feels like freedom, this video is for you. If it feels like a trap you can't escape, that's worth talking to someone about. Both are real. They just need different things. What we're talking about today is the freedom kind, the kind where staying home is an active, conscious, deeply personal choice, and it fills you rather than empties you. Here's what I want you to sit with as this ends. Society has a very specific vision of what a well lived life looks like. It looks loud. It looks busy. It looks like a constant stream of plans and events and weekends that need to be recapped on Monday morning. And if your life doesn't look like that, the quiet implication is that you're missing something, that you're playing it small, that you haven't figured out how to really live yet. But what if you figured out something most people haven't? What if knowing that your best life looks like a good documentary, a warm blanket, your own thoughts, and zero obligations tonight? What if that's not a limitation? What if that is one of the clearest, most grounded forms of self knowledge a person can have? You know what fills you, you know what drains you, you know what your nervous system needs, and you've stopped apologizing for giving it exactly that. That is not boring. That is not lazy. That is not fear. That is radical self awareness in a world that profits from you never quite knowing yourself well enough to be satisfied with stillness. Stop shrinking that. Stop explaining it. Stop canceling your canceled plans to make other people comfortable with a version of you that has never actually existed. You process the world deeply. You recharge in the quiet and the life you're living inside those four walls on your terms, at your pace. That is enough. That has always been enough. If this finally made you feel seen, please subscribe. It helps this channel find the people who need it most. And if you want to go deeper on the psychology of how you're actually wired, the join button is right there. I'll see you in the next one.